Welcome back, Gothamites. I'm London, aka History of the Batman. History of the Batman's mission is to relive defining moments of this DC Comics icon. One of those defining moments comes in the 1986 four-issue opus Batman: The Dark Knight Returns, written by Frank Miller and illustrated by Klaus Janson and Lynn Verley. By many critics and fans alike, The Dark Knight Returns is considered one of the best Batman stories of all time. While I do agree it is an important part of Batman's long history and an essential read for any Bat fan out there, there are also elements within the story that have been hurtful not just to the representation of Batman, but to also the growing fandom of this dynamic character. So for this video, we will highlight 3 reasons why Batman: The Dark Knight Returns is inessential, and 3 reasons why Batman: The Dark Knight Returns is damaging, all the while learning a little bit more about this important arc. But before we dive into this casserole of confliction, and you'll understand why soon, why don't you subscribe to this channel and become a part of this wonderful Batman community? Okay, let's start out on a positive note and start out with our 3 reasons why DKR is an essential. Number 1 is that it jump-started the era of the adult graphic novel. Now, if you watched my last Joker-centric video, which I'll put in the description below, it was pretty fun, you'll know that we briefly highlighted the Comics Code Authority, which began in 1954, which was supposed to assure that comic books weren't corrupting young minds, resulting in serious and violent themes being thrown out the window. Comics Code Authority still impacted the 1960s, which is when we received the live-action TV show Batman, and it jumped the Caped Crusader not just into popular culture, but into its well-known campy era. The episodes reflected the current tamed comics at the time. The 1970s slowly started to pull back from the campiness and go more into Batman's dark detective days. But with shows in the 70s like Super Friends and the New Batman Adventures, the Bright Knight still didn't have its pulp fiction edge as once before. Now we're in the 1980s, and with a new DC Comics editor, Dick Giordano, who is a god, and writer Frank Miller, who, to many, is also a god, and who lives and breathes gritty noir in all of his stories. They both came together and decided they wanted to bring a new Batman to this modern era. And by new, I mean dark. Prior to this and other books within the mid-1980s, such as Alan Moore's Watchmen, comic books were seen more as just picture books for kids and very young adults, and weren't considered actual literature. Until this book came along. Not only did it have a compelling story, a relatable protagonist, and right-on-the-nose political themes, but the prestige formatting, with some pages having 16 panels, all on lovely glossy paper, made this comic what is now popularly known as a graphic novel. The biggest triumph because of The Dark Knight Returns is that now comic books like DKR can be read by a much larger demographic, from young kids to adults, which of course resulted in crazy comic book sales. Many argue that Batman: The Dark Knight Returns was not just a starting point for the era of the adult graphic novel, but also officially rooting Batman back to his gothic roots that Bill Finger and Bob Kane created back in 1939. And just for that reason alone, it is an essential Bat read. Our second reason, the struggling identity between Bruce Wayne and Batman. To me, this is the most important essential in this short list. If you've watched my other videos on this channel, you know that I love when Bruce has to face his own humanity. And you can't get any more facing your mortality than The Dark Knight Returns. If you aren't familiar, which you probably are if you clicked on this video, DKR follows a retired Bruce Wayne who returns to don the cape and the cowl after Gotham City has been overrun by criminals, including the ever-growing and amazingly scary mutant gang. That was just a very Cliff Notesy nutshell, so don't yell at me. While Bruce knows that no one can protect Gothamites against these horrors better than the Batman, he's not the same Batman as he was 25 to 30 years ago. He's human, so his body has aged. And he hasn't trained in about 10 years. Basically, he's too old, Batman old, to be going in the streets and beating up young punks. He needs to just stay home. So even though his mind is still young and in perfect condition to be the Caped Crusader, his body tells a completely different story. And throughout the book, that is what he combats. The most prominent point when he realizes this, of course, is in issue 2 called Triumphant, when Bruce Wayne dresses up as Batman and goes to fight the frightening mutant leader and gets beaten almost to death. Even though he comes back and defeats him in front of his gang, the fact that he was hurt so badly by this enemy gave him almost a reality check that his body and his mind are not one and the same anymore. Which is why the ending of this arc is very fitting to work low-key underground and train a new, younger group of crime fighters. I'm sorry if that was a spoiler for you, but it's a 32-year-old book, so I'm not really sure how that etiquette works. So it's not just a solid Batman story, but it is a very interesting Bruce Wayne story. It not only deals with his own identity crisis, but also highlights the role of superheroes in this society. And for that, it is an essential Bat read. Alright, our third reason is Robin the Girl Wonder. Whatever your opinion of this character is, Carrie Kelly is way more important than you may realize. It was already known from the start with creating this book that Robin would be portrayed by a girl. The only past instance when a woman actually was Robin was a Golden Age story where Julie Madison, Bruce Wayne's past fiance, donned the costume for a very, very short period of time. Like literally a page's worth of time. Carrie Kelly, being inspired by the return of Batman, puts together a Robin suit and goes out into the streets of Gotham to fight crime with no training and a slingshot. That just sounds so safe. But she does save the life of Batman when he gets beaten down by the mutant leader, which sparks his interest into letting Carrie Kelly become the new Robin. And Carrie's Robin and other characters from Catgirl to even Batwoman stay by Batman's side throughout the other sequels of this book. Even though the story isn't mainstream continuity, yes, it is an alternate future. I believe it is on Earth 31, if we want to be technical. It did pave the way for other female characters to take up the Robin mantle, such as Stephanie Brown, and to make more room for other female characters within the Batman family. So with that importance to female representation within the Batman family, let's go into our 3 reasons why Batman the Dark Knight Returns can be damaging. Number 1 is the overwhelming shadow of DKR. As discussed briefly in our essentials, Miller's Batman the Dark Knight Returns brings back the dark in Dark Knight and presents a gritty and bleak Batman as he struggles with his identity as a superhero in this society. And this grittiness and darkness hasn't been seen for decades. But ever since DKR hit in 1986, not just Batman stories, but other comics, movies, TV, video games, all affected by this huge tidal wave of grim and gritty stories. I understand that you want comics to be presented to a wider demographic. However, not every comic book character, whether it be a hero or a villain or a one-off character, has to be dark. The colorful rogues gallery is colorful for a reason. And the primary colors in the superheroes' costumes are especially bright for a reason. Now, this isn't saying that dark comics are not entertaining. But you can definitely see a trend of stories being swept up by a sea of a very dark Shadow of the Bat, courtesy of Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns. And another point under this bullet point. So another point is now, especially with the modern, more enthusiastic Batman fan, if Batman isn't dark or mean, he isn't a proper representation of Batman. This is so damaging and insulting to the almost 80 years of this character's evolution across all media. Batman has had more visual and mythos changes than the Spider-Man films have had reboots. And that's okay, because it is a part of his growing up within DC Comics and his evolution as the persona that we all enjoy. Every type of Caped Crusader is valid and important. Even George Clooney. My mom will appreciate that because she absolutely loves George Clooney's Batman. Hi, Mom. So discrediting the 1960s Adam West Batman, or even cartoons like Batman the Brave and the Bold, is not healthy or the best for this fandom if you truly want to celebrate the Batman in all of his almost 80-year glory. Alright, number 2, the representation of women and people of color. Disclaimer, disclaimer, bells, whistles. Just hold on. I can already imagine the comment section and the tons of DMs that I probably will receive on Instagram. For this bat bullet point, it is literally me commenting on what I see within the 4-issue arc. This is not me saying anything about Frank Miller, Klaus Janson, or any of the creators' points of view or ideals towards women or people of color. This is just a commentary. And just hear me out. I'd appreciate it. As noted earlier, it is important that Carrie Kelly became Robin the Girl Wonder within this universe. However, the handful of women represented in this book, and when I say handful, I literally mean you can count how many women are in this book on one hand, so, are in different ways slightly disrespected or shamed for their gender. For instance, both women who within this comic are in a seat of power that typically is taken up by a man, from Ellen Yindel, who is replacing Commissioner James Gordon, who is retiring from the position, to Carrie Kelly, who instead of Robin the Boy Wonder is Robin the Girl Wonder. There's always either shock that oh, they're a woman, or oh, they're a woman. Either way, there is some type of negative connotation. And then there's Selina Kyle. Selina's biggest part in the story is when Joker meets her at her escort service, drugs her, dresses her up as Wonder Woman. So we're gonna drag that queen too? Are you serious? Hog ties her and leaves her on a bed for Batman and Robin to find her. What? Then we have a couple of women who are TV anchors in all of their 80s fashion and hairstyles, which is fine. But basically, The Dark Knight Returns, which came out in 1986, is predominantly filled with white men. Oh, and speaking of anchors and white men, the representation of people of color in this book is limited. Like, there's this guy and this guy, right? Oh, and also a bonus, this guy is one of the people who are shocked to see that Robin isn't a guy but a girl. The two reasons why I bring up this bat bullet point is A, it just doesn't age well within 2018, and B, there's legit no reason for there to be a lack of representation of women and people of color within this comic. This is not a period piece like Batman Gothamite Gaslight, which is in the Victorian era. This is in 1986. I mean, Reagan is president. It's 1986. I believe from rereading The Dark Knight Returns that the representation of women and people of color are rather limited or disrespected. And our last point, number 3, is Batman versus Superman. I bet you thought that was gonna be an essential. I just know that you did. So, if you have read this book, or even at this point, if you haven't read this book, you know the big climax scene is when Batman and Superman duke it out in Crime Alley. This fight is now considered iconic within the entire history of not just Batman comics, but probably DC Comics. I mean, Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice literally ripped off this entire scene for the movie. And this made modern enthusiastic Batman fans go crazy and pretty much deduce that because Batman won and beat Superman in this fight, that Batman can win any fight and beat anybody he is up against. Okay, so I have a couple of problems with this. First off, any story, pick any story, like go find a story where Batman and Superman have to fight each other. Either Superman is really weak or weakened or something, or for the most part, Superman holds back because he doesn't want to kill Batman. Superman is this alien from a doomed planet, one of the strongest beings within this fictional universe. While I love Batman, he is human, which is one of the reasons why I love Batman. And Superman knows he can literally kill him with one punch because he's that strong, because he has that much power. I don't think that reasoning is far-fetched. But yes, in Dark Knight Returns, sure, between Batman's armored suit, the tons of kryptonite on him, and Ollie helping him out, and Superman being weakened just a little bit before the fight, Batman sure did win. This fight is literally the start of why many modern enthusiastic Batman fans have this Batman God complex, which I have discussed before. If you are interested in my theory of the myth of the Batman God complex, I'll link that DC Comics video for you in the description below. And secondly, what I've noticed is that a person will say, I do not like Superman because I think he is too powerful and it's not fun to read his comics because you know that he'll win because he has all the powers. That exact same person will say, well, Batman can beat Superman and can beat anyone and anything because he has this and this and that, and I love the fact that he can win every fight. Pick one. It's almost infuriating because you cannot be okay with Batman beating everyone and winning everything and deifying him, and not be okay with Superman, who is on the scale of a literal deity. But to round out this last final point of this video, while this Crime Alley fight is visually stunning and a great read, it can be damaging because, as I have seen, and I'm sure maybe you have seen, because you go on the internet, you're on it right now, it brings out the bro-ness in certain modern enthusiastic Bat fans, and that makes comics not fun. Or if you disagree with them about Batman being able to beat everybody or really anything, they will almost bully you, which of course bullying in any way, shape, or form is damaging and hurtful. So I just say, don't bully. And as I always say, it is okay for Batman to lose once in a while, because that means that he is human, that he can fail, and that is one of his most enduring qualities. So if you like that quality just like I do, don't use this fight to say that he can't lose any fights. Just enjoy this practically Elseworlds arc, the fantastic art, the wonderful dialogue, and just let it be. Thank you guys so much for watching this video of 3 reasons why Batman the Dark Knight Returns is an essential and 3 reasons why Batman the Dark Knight Returns is damaging. If you have not read this arc, please do. And of course, after you read it, watch the animated film, because it is literally adapted like almost word for word from the book, and the animation is outstanding. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a bat thumbs up. Feel free to leave in the comments below your thoughts on my reasoning about The Dark Knight Returns and what do you think about this iconic story. I wanted to shout out two things in this video. One is my shirt, which is a Hot Topic shirt sent by them to me. So thank you so much to my family at Hot Topic for always filling up my closet with awesome nerdiness. So it is a Harley Quinn shirt. And see, she's kind of like a punk rock Harley. And it says Skull Boys, which I like. And also I'm wearing my Batmobile pin that was sent to me by MacGuffin Goods, who is awesome, and they make great Batman pins. So I will link Hot Topic's online store and also MacGuffin's website and Instagram below so you can check them out and pick up your own Batman goods. As always, my social media is linked in the description, so why don't you go give it a follow and check out my authors page and my reviews for Comicosity. And of course, please subscribe to this channel so you can become a part of this awesome Batman community. Thanks so much for watching, and we will have more History of the Batman soon right here on YouTube. Remember, Gothamites, it's all about peace, love, and Batman. Bye.